record on this computer. So, all right. So we've got ourselves the. I am teaching right now. Potato chips. I will talk about the Pong Lab today as well. But anyway, we've got ourselves these MIDI notes, and then they're being sent to a virtual instrument that's playing these notes. Okay, so having MIDI and having like a nice repository of MIDI is very nice to have. Now, I can easily just get these MIDI files just by kind of clicking over here and then hitting the download button, which would give me an MP3, or I could just click, well, I could click right here and I get the file for my computer, the MIDI file. But I'm lazy, right? And this page is fairly long. Could be even longer if people add more to it, right? I don't want to click on all these buttons to download them. Look, if I click on play, boom, I've got it. So if this is now, this looks like a task that can be automated, right? So if it's automated, that means I should be able to write a script for it. And now we see where we're going with this today. Okay, so let's talk about something very useful that you might or something that might be very useful if you're working in the web track. Okay, so let's go ahead now. First off, let's just give some basics over here. I am currently using Firefox, which is a type of program called a web browser. Okay, a web browser is used to communicate with primarily one specific type of application on the internet, which is the World Wide Web, but not the only application on the internet, right? So the internet, what is it besides a series of tubes? The internet is a giant network of interconnected computers that can communicate with each other freely, or mostly freely. Okay, there's the basics of the network track. It's worth watching, even if you don't go down it. It's very good basic information about it. Also, I bet Crash Course has a video on it. It's worth probably checking that out. But this application runs off of something. World Wide Web works off of these static web pages that get sent to you, and then the computer renders it. So really, when I go to and visit a website, here I'm talking to Wikipedia, and I go out to Wikipedia and I say, hey, give me the web page that's located at this URL. Okay, give me the thing that's located at this URL, and then it says, okay, here you go, Professor Rosen. Here's a website. Here's this website. Okay, now what it sends me isn't actually this. What it sends me is what we get when we right click and hit view page source, which is this monstrosity, which is this HTML with a bit of extra stuff here. Now, HTML is a markup language. It's not a full programming language, but you can combine it with JavaScript and voila, you've got a full programming language combined with something to render stuff. HTML is basically a bunch of instructions for a web browser that says, here's how the page should look. You figure out how to arrange that based on the device. Because, for instance, here I'm using a 1440p monitor, which might look different and need to be rendered different if it's on a phone, right? So there are a whole lot of different things over here. But what we notice here is that it's hyperlinked. So for instance, when we've got various so for over here, like it says, the following is a list of commonly used chord progressions, and I've got a link to another web page, which is represented over here. The following is a link of a list of commonly, and then you have this means attribute, href, hypertext reference, and it simply says /wiki chord progression. And if I were to click that, it would bring me to the chord progression source text. So now this, again, is an HTML file. But HTML file, and remember, there are two types of files. There are files that are binary files, which are application files that you can't really read. And then there's text files. And very clearly, very, very clearly, HTML is a text file, which means we can parse it with any kind of programming language. So let's go ahead and see. So our MIDI files over here that I'm trying to download, they are located at Control F, MID. Now this will take me some, I'm going to be altering what I normally do today, which is a web comic downloader, but I wanted to show this on Wikipedia and just kind of show this works for pretty much everything. So notice over here, it's got links to all the MIDI files over here. What we're going after doesn't really matter, just that it's a common kind of thing to do. And downloading or scraping a web page is a very common practice. Like say you've got a bunch of, your professor puts a bunch of PDFs online. Or you find a textbook online, an ancient textbook that's out of copyright, of course, because I would never advocate for you downloading textbooks that are copyrighted illegally over the internet. I would never suggest doing that. Never, never, never. But suppose like somehow each page is like a picture and it's not one file, right? Well, real pain to download them all. If I had to download them all by clicking them one at a time, I could write a script that would automate that process. Or I could just check a web page to see if something updated and download what the new update is. So, so it turns out that Python has a lot of easy to use, useful libraries for reaching out to do that stuff. This comes from one of my favorite books, AutomateTheBoringStuff.com. It's quite good. Oh, he's got a new book, Beyond the Basic Stuff. So it comes from chapter 12, Web Scraping. This book is completely free online. And he does a lot of stuff with it. There are basically, he talks about 4 different modules here, which is web browser, requests, BS4, and Selenium. We're primarily going to focus on requests, which if you notice, it says downloads files and web pages, but he repeats himself there, from the internet, right? Because everything is a file, right? In computer science, every single saved piece of data is a file. All right, so this one is about web browser, which just simply lets you kind of open up a web browser. That's kind of useful if you write an application to help somebody, right, for your final project, right? They type some information, you can open up a web browser and direct them to the proper information just from the command line. Boom, it's pretty easy. So for instance, he shows how to basically, how he can basically write something in the terminal that opens up the map of that location of a certain address in Google. Pretty cool. Something you could do, you could write a command line thing that basically that opens up the URL for your local weather. Okay. So, let's see. So now let's see. The request module lets you easily download files from the web without having to worry about complicated issues such as network errors, connection problems, or data compression. Note that the request module doesn't come with Python, so you'll have to install it first. So how do we install things that don't exist in Python? Or aren't there yet? We use a command called pip. Now, I think I've mentioned pip before, but I'll go over it again. Pip is basically a Python package installer. It basically allows people to publish their Python code and other people to download it. And so you can just simply type pip. I'm going to say pip3. Let's see. Pip3 because I'm using Python 3. So if there's any doubts, say pip3. I'm going to say pip3 install, and I'm going to say requests. And there, as you can see, it downloaded requests. And now if I go into Python, if I open up a Python interpreter, I can now do this. Import requests, which is a library that didn't exist before. So now I can use this. Okay. So first off, you can download a web page using something called request.get. So let me go ahead and grab the web page that I was looking at, which was this guy over here. Now I'm going to go over here. Let me go back into Python. I'm going to do a lot of this in the command line. Import requests, just so that we can kind of see what's going on. Requests.get, and I'm going to go ahead, and this is just the same as working in the idle terminal. And notice I got response 200. That means that my request was successful, but I didn't save anything. So you get a response from it, response 200. So let's go ahead and store that now. So you send out a request to a website. This is a GET request, and it gives me a response. So I save that response. It's just a response. And if I type in, let's see, the length of res.text. .text is basically any kind of text in there that I got. Gives me an answer. Let's look at the first 500 characters of it. Slice length of 500 characters, and it just says 500. Oh, right, because I asked for the length of it. Silly me. The length of the first 500 characters. Of course, that's going to be 500. And so if we look over here, this gives us the HTML. In fact, if I were to say print res.txt, and I know it's a bit hard to see, I get a lot of this. And let's see, yeah, I did get the entire web page. Just kind of downloads, because again, HTML is a text file. All I did was I used a library to ask for it. Okay. And this is really all I need for the request library for a bit. So let's go ahead and now type this up more formally. I want to download something, and we might use our regular expressions a bit from yesterday. So let's go, because there's two very important, powerful things in regex I want to show you. All right, so let's go with meaty down.py. I'm going to import requests, and there's other ways to do this if you can't get requests. I think the URL library, the requests is just easy. So import requests. So now I'm going to request that web page again. I'm going to go ahead and save it in a URL. I'm going to save that in here in the string. Okay. Just going to confirm that it saves, and now it runs. Excellent. Okay, now what we can do is we can say request.get the target. We can get our response. And now our response.text, we're going to go ahead and store that in just a variable I call HTML. Okay. And now what I can say is like I can work through it just like anything else. For line in HTML, print. Oh, I doubt it's going to give me a line. Let's go. I bet it's going to give me. It's going to do something stupid like print out every single character. Yeah, it's going to print out every single character. That was a bit stupid of me. All right. So I want to split this up by line. So HTML, well, that's working in the background. Yeah, there, I can kill that. HTML is equal to HTML dot. Let's go ahead and split this, right? what we're going to do is we're going to turn it into a list of lines so that's a bit easier to process one line at a time. Split, and we're going to split on the new line. So now, should give me a bit. String object has no attribute splits. Split, please. So now we've got okay. I do have new lines, right? Oh, right, because yeah. Yeah, not that it really matters for this application though, but it's text. I could do that anyway. The lines just happen to be ginormous in this program because that's the way they do that. So what I need to do is be able to, is that I want to find, so let's go ahead and go back to our meaty file, or not to the meaty file, but to over here. So meaty files end with .mid, right? There's 155 matches here. So we see that basically we get href, wiki, and they're all stored in the way you get to a meaty file. Let's go ahead and click over here, is that you get the link. Let's go ahead and copy this link. Nope. Copy link location. There we go. So meaty files basically, so part of figuring out how to write an automatic downloader is figuring out, okay, how do I do this? How do I get this? What is the resource I'm working for? What is the format? And we see that basically that all the meaty files are stored here in Wikipedia, n.wikipedia.org/wiki file. And then the only part that's unique is this part over here, right? So what we can do now, mind you, when we don't, when you're working in with this HTML file, let's go back to it for a second. When we look at this HTML file, the links don't exactly show that. They leave off the /wiki of the HTTP part. And the web browser automatically knows that if it sees /wiki, right, without the HTTP, that it's on the same website, the same mwikipedia.org. So that's all that's going to appear. So to get this meaty file, let's see, go ahead and look down for a meaty file again. So here we've got this 50s chord progression. So we see here, we've got /that. What? Well, hold on one second. You got other talking at me. What was that, Laser? Oh, you wish you had the balloon that got popped months ago? I too am filled with existential regret about many things. But Laser, I know that you're sad about the balloon. Would you like it if we got you more balloons?
That belt blow away and belt.
All right. Well, I can't fix that now. I need to work with my class, Laser. All right. So let's go ahead and get this.
I need my hands. I need my hands.
Okay, go downstairs and ask Mama for help with that. So let's go ahead and basically, so the way that this is going to look on the computer is or rather the way it's what we're looking for is going to look something like this. File, it's going to look like slash. We're going to be wanting to, we won't be seeing this part. Instead, we're going to be seeing basically slash wiki and all this rest. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to need to search for this. So let's go ahead and call it meaty regex, and let's make a regex to look for this. Okay, that's something. Okay. Now the reason I'm going to use a regex is because using a regular find and replace is going to be a bit difficult, right? We don't know how long the name is going to be, but what we do know is that it's going to end with a .mid. Okay, so I'm going to be a bit clever here. Let's go ahead and first import RE. All right. And now what we're going to do is that we know that the meaty, that this is all, we know it's always going to start with, and again, a raw string here because we want it to be exact. Actually, no, I'm not going to use a raw. Wait, yes, we do. Okay, so it's always going to start out with this. So those are not, none of those are special characters. It's always going to start out with that. Okay. So find r.wiki file. Okay. And then we also know it's going to end with a .mid. Now here's the thing. Dot is a special character in regular expressions, meaning any character. So I'm going to do slash dot so that we can, so that we're saying it actually looks for a dot. But that dot's going to be pretty useful because how in the world do I say I want any number of characters in here? Well, we have two very useful things. So first off, any number of characters, and I'm going to say any character there. I'm going to go ahead and set and create. So we know we need a dot. In fact, we need a lot of dots because dots mean any character, right? But how many do we need? Well, we need at least one for a file name. So there's fortunately a use for that, the plus sign. So let's just go ahead and pull up regexer because I can't believe I didn't mention this yesterday. This is like one of the more useful ones. So let's go ahead and do this. Look for this. This matches ha, 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 and ha, and ha, right? Matches all those. It does not match, nor does it match ha, ha, ha. It matches all the individual pieces of ha, 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 right? Makes sense? So it's an A, so it looks for an H and an A, and it matches one or more of the preceding thing. So the plus means at least one of the previous. Make sense? We also have a similar operation, which is the clean star, K-L-E-E-N-E, the clean star, which means at least 0. Right? Normally it's at least 1, but this is at least 0. So it matches all the ha's we want as well as any H by itself. So we have 0 to infinite number of A's. So if we go back to this, we have give me something that starts with /wiki /file : and then any character, any number of those characters, followed by a dot, followed by an MID. So now I can use, let's go ahead and I'm going to comment this out. We've got our text. Let's go ahead and, again, be kind of lazy. re.findAll. So, okay. re.findAll. Why does not, you know, you were being super useful yesterday. Why aren't you being super useful right now? Okay. Okay. It's not being super useful right now, but that's okay. Import RE. We want, let's see, RE dot, yes, I'm on a different file, but don't know why it's not doing that. Okay, normally it tells me what the arguments are. Find all. So let's look up RE find all. Yes, I want to leave this page. Find all, given the pattern, then the string, and it's all lowercase. That's what I needed to know. RE.find all. And now we want to look for the MIDI regex. And we want to look for it in HTML. And let's call this MIDIs is equal to, so this should be our list of MIDI. Print. MIDIs. All right, so, uh-oh. So we've got this thingy over here. So we've got slash. Okay. But then it goes on and on and on. Oh, no. I think what it's doing is that it's being, I forget, greedy behavior. How is greedy behavior for the clean star work? That's greedy. Repetition modifiers, such as cannot be directly nested, are all greedy. Okay, so using star plus are all greedy. They match as much text as you can. So in other words, what this matched, and I was afraid it was going to do this, what it matched was it found the first MIDI. And what I wrote was find any number of characters between these, right? Any number of characters. Well, went, okay, well, I found, so what I found was /wiki/file :50s da 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 da. Right, I found the wiki and file, and then you said any number of characters until I get to a .mid. Well, .mid is any kind of characters, and I'm greedy. I want to match the biggest text I can. So what it did is that, notice we're up here, it matched only one item, which was from the beginning up to all the way down to here in the back, into the or down to the middle of the file, and said, aha, see, everything between that first wiki I saw and this last MIDI, right? Though anything between is any character. So there's a couple ways around this. The first is we can be more explicit about what we want to see in these files, which is that I don't maybe want anything in between them, which is, so what I think, so I could also say, hey, I want you to be non-greedy. As soon as you find something that works, just do it, which is that what that question mark says. It says do it non-greedily. And notice now that that works. Another way we can do it without having to use a bunch of symbols like that is to say, hey, let's go back to doing the plus, right? But rather, let's now be explicit about all the characters I want to see. Any letter, anything from A to Z, or anything from capital A to capital Z, any number, and underscore. And dash. That looks like we've got pretty much everything in there now. And if I don't, oh well. But that'll also work. Basically, I'm saying here's all the characters and any number of these in any combination, and that works. So now we have a list of all the meaty URLs, right? Kinda, right? But we've got the /wiki, the /file there, right? That's great. 541 turnaround. Yeah, we've got doubles. In fact, everything has a duplicate because it looks like they have two references to each one of them. So there's a couple ways we can do that. We could throw it into a set. We could but one thing we could do is that, well, let's look at our parser and instead handle it that way, which is that it says, hey, you've got this cadence over here, and then you've got this title. So maybe instead what we'll do is we'll use this bit. We'll say that we know that any file starts with this. Any meaty file starts with this. So, and then that will ignore the repeats that we get, right? Because notice over here, it's the same here and here. You've got the file and that. So this should help a great deal, I think. And then you also have this one, but we ignore it. So there's a number there. Okay. So let's now change our target to be href is equal to quote. Okay. And now we should not have, see, we still have duplicates. Great. So let's go ahead and see. Control. So now let's go to our web page. Control F. Where are we getting our duplicates? In href there and in href there, because there are two targets. Which is annoying, but doable. So I'm just going to go back to the easy solution that I instinctively do when I want to remove duplicates, which is that, so let's me retype this: A to Z, 0 to 9, right? Okay. And the way I like to remove duplicates is a very hacky way. Okay. Which is that I take this. This is a list of items, right? And there's one other data structure I like besides lists, and that is sets. S-E-T-S. They're like the mathematical set. Super useful. Anybody here from math want to tell me what the rules for a set are?
No duplicate elements.
Right. No duplicate elements. It's just essentially in computer science, all we care about a set is that it has no duplicate elements. It also can check you really fast, but if you throw anything into, if I throw this into a set, and save it now, well, that was disappointing. It's Roman Chesk. Really? That's all of them? Oh, and 0 through 9 and underscore and dash. Forgot the underscore and dash. Okay. Now if we do meaties is equal to the set of all meaties. So this again basically puts it in a set. And the big rule about sets that we care about here is that there's no duplicate elements. Boom. In fact, we can print the length of the meaty, which again, length is the general. How big is this thing in Python? You want something to eat? And we'll notice that we go from 58 meaty files to 29. So that removes our duplicates. No problem. Okay, so very useful there. And then if I wanted it to be a list again, that's no problem because I'll just simply say, hey, go and be a list again so that I can manipulate you in a way I like. I'm familiar with lists, sets, and iterating through them. I just learned about them. Well, I didn't, but you did. Right? So now it's back to that, but now we removed our duplicates. Super easy way to remove duplicates like that. Is it the most efficient way? Probably not, but boy, is it easy to read. Right? It's easy to read, easy to write, easy to understand for us. And at the end of the day, that's sometimes more important than any kind of efficiency we can get. Okay, so next, we've got our duplicates. So now let's go ahead and talk about how do I get these files. So how do I get these files? Saving downloaded files to the hard drive. So we can use to write a web page to a file, right? I can just get chunks like that for Unicode. But I don't want just a file. I want to get, and I don't need to parse it. I already did the parsing. I want to download a binary file, which is a meaty file. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, essentially what we've done over here was we just simply say, we do the same thing here. We get it just like we would a text file. Okay, and then we use the same thing actually to write it. We'll have to do something from import. So what we're going to do is that we are going to import from OS. Those are operating system functionalities. Very cool stuff in OS. Not nearly as dangerous as it seems, by the way. So what we're going to do is that what we can do is we can download all these meaty files first off. So let's just test the downloading before we figure out about the saving. So because we can download it and just kind of keep it in RAM without saving it. So for file or for URL in meaties, right? We need, so we've got the / Wikipedia, So requests dot get, and there's a response. The response is equal to request.get, and then we're going to get each one of those URLs, but again, they're not full URLs. This would error if we didn't have that. What we need is this in front of it. Wikipedia.org, and then the rest of the URL. And so if we run this now, it's taking a bit of time because it's downloading 29 things. So, or is it? Is it just simply grr? Oh, no, it worked. Great. Okay. Probably I should print out like as it's doing, but I got that res. So print response, and I can say URL URL and then acquired. And then we can just simply do that. And there we go. It's been acquired. That's pretty cool. Right? So we've got those. Now we have to save it to our hard drive, which uses this block of code over here. Okay, image file, open ospath.join. So first things first, because I don't want to spam my desktop with more stuff to throw out today, because my desktop has gotten a bit just a bit filled with too many active projects. So let's go ahead and create a new folder called let's call it chords, because that's what we're saving, right? And we'll put everything in there. This thing's on my desktop, so, or this Python file is on my desktop, right? So it makes sense to just dump stuff into there. All right, so we've got this. Now, okay, so now we got to figure out where we want to put it, which is, again, over here, which is os.path.join, then path-based name t. Okay, os.path.join, over here, which is xkcd. Okay, so the os.path.join. Basically, this goes back to the fact that basically if you're working in Windows, your file name, here's my drive. Here's my desktop in Windows. Okay, right? It's on my C drive in users, my username in desktop. But if I'm working in, say, Linux, let's go ahead and open up Bash. Okay, I'm in Linux now. There's my URL of my home folder, CD desktop. I don't think I have a desktop. Oh, yes, I do. I am accessing it via Linux. Can anybody spot the difference besides the .mount or the /mount? What's the difference between those two URLs? Those two, URLs. What's the difference between desktop on Windows and desktop on a Unix machine like a Mac or Linux? It's a subtle difference. Yes. The people who typed in the chat have it right. John and Aaron, the slashes. On Windows, it uses this. On a Mac, if I was living on a Mac, it looked like this. And you want to write this program so it works anywhere, right? So that's what os.path.join is for. It says basically figure out what the path is using this. So this saves it to, so this line is going to be a bit of magic, but I'll go ahead and explain it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say, hey, here's our image file. So let's go ahead and just digest this. So first off, let's go ahead and just remove this. Oh, it's open, right? Open, our good friend open here, which is how we interact with files, right? I see a W, but I've got a B here. Why do I have a B here? Well, the B in this case stands for binary. It lets Python know that we're not writing text. We're writing a binary file. So please take the bytes as they come. Don't worry about it not making sense to a human being. So now what goes over here is just what we're going to save in open. os.path.join. So here, rather than doing xkcd, I'm going to say, hey, please put it in chords. And then we'll need and what we're joining is that basically we're putting it in, we want to put it in the file to be saved to chords. And then if I'm on a Mac machine, I want it would be to save to basically file name. You have something, Rob?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know it was annotating on your end too.
No worries.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think it's. I'll have to remind students to do that. That they can draw stuff on my screen.
Yeah, I was just taking notes for myself. I didn't realize he was doing the
It's
whole.
no worries. But we want to put it in file name. And then a .mid, right? This part is already there, which would be wiki file regular, but you know what? Figuring out what the file name is called, I'll leave that for another day. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and just simply say file name is equal to, or file, I'm just going to call it file num is equal to this. And then I'll increment it each time I save a file. So I'm just going to call it, instead of this, I'm going to do str file num plus dot MID. This is I'm just saying this is where I want to save it on my computer. Okay. Which is a lot of stuff to say, but you can simplify this a bit better. This just makes it bulletproof for wherever we're working on this. Oh, and we need a dot so that the computer does recognize it as a .midi file. So we've got now our image file. We'll want to save it in there, chords. This is automatically going to put the slash in. And then I'm going to simply say file num plus equals 0 so that the next, so first file is going to be plus equal 1. First file is going to be 1, second file is going to be 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's actually go and save this, which is basically we take a chunk of this. Now the iter content basically means that I'm going to be going through it basically so many bytes at a time. Here we go. And as you can tell, this is the kind of thing I always look up every single time I do it because it is, you know, it's a bit of a thing. So for chunk in iter chunk, that basically says, hey, this is how many bytes I want to read at once of the content. So what we say is for chunk in our response dot iter, what is it, dot iter content. Read, and yeah, that should be more than enough, 100,000 bytes at a time. We'll do image file dot write chunk. So, okay. And now, if we run it, what did I do? Oh, I have this random stuff in my file over here. Unsupported type for string and int. Oh, right. Silly me. I hate it when students do it, but it's very embarrassing when I do it myself, which is where so let's see. Okay. Okay, that looks fine. Image file is not defined. Oh, they're just, I pressed Control D, which deleted that line. So now it's going through, it's acquiring them all. And now if I go ahead and look, oh, there's files here. There's 0 through 28. Says does not support it. Interesting. That does not support the MIDI file. Let's see if this recognizes the MIDI file or not. Let me save before it crashes. Okay, because maybe I didn't write them correctly. No. Ooh. Oh, I know what I did. It doesn't have anything in it. So that's why it's not identifying it. I forgot a very important step. tell Python that I'm done with the file, and you can now it's written to. So let's go ahead and see. Okay, let's go ahead and delete everything and over here, and then I'm going to run it again. All right. Does not support the file, but it's got 37 kilobytes, so it's got something in there. What did I do that wasn't correct there? All right. So let's see. What did I do that was not correct? Okay. Yeah. All right. So we get that comic. And then for chunk, write it. I mean, it should. I mean, again, what it should be downloading is this. Well, not that, but. Ooh, hold on. Wait a second. That may be a point. Clicking on this brings me over to here. Interesting. So perhaps I have the wrong target, which is fine. So again, the entire point of using this or using file extensions is for you and the computer both to know what is in there. But let's go ahead and open this up. It's an HTML file. Oops. So clicking on that gave us the wrong thing. Okay, that's no problem though. That just means we have to change our regex. Everything else will work. So, right, so clicking on that gives me, right, Wikipedia interprets that as the page. On the other hand, clicking on this over here gives me the file. So what is that URL? And that's a significantly different URL, but that's perfectly fine. Easy enough to believe or not, change in like a second. It's HTTPS upload.wikimedia. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do some quick. So, right, making it like this, even though I didn't significantly mess up, it's not actually that bad of a that bad. Because all I have to do is let's change the target that I'm going for. So we're going to go ahead and look for, not that, I want, it's // It has 2 slashes in front of it. Okay. Okay, 2 slashes in front of it. So I'm looking for // and then let's see, are they all Control F? Commons, and then they have a bunch of stuff in there. So notice that it's after commons, they have, it could be any kind of number and / kind of deal. So that's okay. That's easy enough to take care of. So we want to see, upload this. Okay. Upload Wikimedia Commons. And then we have a letter. Let's see. Let's be as exact as we can to avoid having to write anything special. A letter or a number followed by 2 letters or numbers. So a letter or a number. Easy enough to do. letter or number, followed by a slash, followed by two of these suckers. Followed by another slash, followed by any of those. Save. Now when we get our URL to download, it's got actually everything up there. Let's throw out that first slash because we don't need to throw out that actually first slash because we've got everything but the HTTPS. It has the slash in there. And now, just by changing our target, hey, it worked. All right. So as you can see, this is a pretty cool tool that we have here. You can use this for pretty much any kind of file. I actually I've done it multiple times with downloading pictures. This is the first time I tried doing it with the audio. So, and that mistake I made was not intentional over there. That's actually a realistic mistake where I was targeting the wrong URL. It was unintentional of me. I'm glad I made that mistake because it was a mistake that I made at the beginning, but didn't tell me that I had made a mistake, but I identified it pretty quickly, which was, there are two types of things that end in .midi. Let me try the other one. And again, this did not take too many lines at all. Let's go ahead and get rid of a lot of our formatting. And you see that it's less than 25 lines. Right? Python makes these kind of things easy, and it makes these kind of things automated. All right. So it's current. Whoop. Hi, Laser. I will share this code. I'll upload it. But first, I'd like to ask. I noticed that some people wanted me to talk about Pong. With what regard?
Oh, that was me.
Mhm.
I was having trouble getting Love to actually load the Pong code.
So are you in do you have so what are you on, Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Okay. So what you'll want to do is when you get Love, there's two kind of ways you can do this. First off, Love, what we'll do is I'm going to just when you've got Love, you want to make a shortcut to your desktop. So open to file location, and I'm just going to notice it's got a shortcut icon over here when you right click and go to open file location. Copy, boom. This might happen also as you install it. Now that I've got that, I can drag anything. I can drag any folder with my Love code on it, okay, or with my Lua code in it. So over here, let me go to my Gmail, my drive. Here is my Pong, right? I'm going to drag this back in, and then I can drag the Pong in and it will run. Okay, it's got to be in the folder. Now the Laser, can you stop that? The important thing is you've got this folder, okay? You need to have a main.lua in it. If you do not have a main.lua, it doesn't matter. It's just not going to run, okay? But that's how you typically run it. But it's much easier. The easier way to do that is to open up Visual Studio Code, okay? And say you want to do a Lua project. So here, let's go ahead and start getting Laser.
Why would you take us to you?
Can you give me 10 minutes? I'm trying to work with my class here. Getting started. Love 2D. All the information is here on how to get started. Which is over here, getting started on this page, right? Which you can find by going to the main Lua page, the main Love 2D page, right? Going to the wiki and hitting getting started. So let's go ahead and start this, right? So create a new file. So create a new file in the folder you just created. So let's create a new folder. I'm going to call it hello. Okay, I called it help with 2 L's. Okay, let's go ahead and make a new file. I'm going to call it main.lua. You gotta have a main.lua in there. Okay, so there's 2 ways I can do that. I can play with this. I can either drop it into there. I'm going to show you the other way, which is that I open up Visual Studio Code. This works just as well in Mac, which is, and you just simply drop this into here. And now you've got the folder in here that we can look at. So let's write ourselves a Lua program really quickly. This is Hello World over there. And then we've got ourselves then we've got, so now we've got that. And now what you want to do is, you want to go ahead and get extensions. So how do I get extensions? Extensions on Laser. Extensions VS Code. So how do you manage extensions? Control-Shift-S. Or you just simply look at the manage extensions. Ah, yes. Here, which is this icon over here, or you can press Control-Shift-X. And if we look for Love 2D, this Pixelbyte Studios one, you install it. Okay, you just click install, it will automatically install, and it adds Love 2D support here. It just kind of hooks right into the Love 2D that you installed, right? The video goes over this. And then all you have to do on Windows is press Alt-L, and it runs now. As long as the folder has been dragged into here, because it needs to know what the folder is. Make sense?
Yep, I got it working now. I just realized that when I extracted the Pong zip, I forgot to there's like another Pong folder inside of that, and I was putting the wrong one into the Love exe. But it's good now. Thank you.
No worries. That's why it's always important to do. Can you sing? You want to hit the? You can hit the bells on that if you want. Or you can hit the xylophone if you want to, Laser.
But only look at these.
No, I haven't gotten the chance to start Mario. I've been having to. I've been having to take care of a lot of stuff at home, and Laser's been needing a lot of attention. I should have time tonight.
Could you do one more example from that page, that web page?
What the Love 2D? It really doesn't matter what it is. It is just simply you take the file, you create a main file, and then you can either drop it into here, okay? So it's got to be on the top level of this folder.
That's what I figured out on my own. It's just, I guess that's what the issue was. I wasn't making a main.lua file, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I was trying the other examples and it wasn't working, like draw the whale or like have it make a sound, I guess. But
It's got to be a main.lua. I mean, again, the instructions for it. Laser. Let's go ahead and take a Laser. I don't want to play right now.
But I want to.
Give me a second.
But I want you to play by telephone.
I just passed him to Mama. Nah, he's not in trouble. He doesn't understand. I just simply dropped him off with Mom. So, okay. Yeah, so 50x. All right, the page over here has, okay. So if we look at the videos over here, it points out that in the notes here that you've got instructions. We can open VS Code, create a new folder for a project with a file called main.lua. Right, so it goes over those steps on how to do it, and explicitly goes over it in the video. So just if you're having trouble, rewatch this. But again, the easiest way is to simply to get VS Code. Okay. Take your project folder, like here in Pong. Here I'm going to go ahead and down and drop this over here. I'll actually close this guy. And you can either, let's see, I'm going to click open. You can either drag it in or you can click open folder. And I'll go ahead and select Pong. And there's all the things in there. Once you've got this extension installed, now the other ones don't really have this problem because you've got, or this step, because in mobile development, you're working in an explicit IDE, and in HTML, for HTML, that's pretty much, again, you can just kind of build your own. Pretty much everything supports it. But once you install this, you'll be able to use a hotkey combination. And it says here for Windows, you'll just simply, it will run Alt L will run it. And if you're on Mac, Command L will run it. Okay.
I'm sorry, I had one more question.
Sure.
I know we have a Lua reference manual, but are the videos more than enough? Because I've been going through the reference
Yeah, the
manuals
videos
a
are
bit.
plenty enough.
Okay.
The videos are all enough to finish the Pong off. You don't even have to write a loop in Pong. All you have to do is write, because because the entire program exists within a loop. All you have to do is just simply all I end up doing is writing if-else statements.
Okay, gotcha.
It should be open. You should be able to submit it. Can you not submit it? Let me double check on Canvas. And yes, I would like you to demo your tracks. That way we can make sure that we can see what you did. Okay, so Python. It can be very basic. Mine was over the top. As I think it can be, all it has to do is follow the ball. It only took me a couple lines, and most of those were if and else. Or half of them were part of the if else statements. So all right, other questions? Yeah, I never copied that in. But you can, for the home page for that, you can just simply go to here. So could I just make the other player 2 and it moves up and down? Well, you're going to have 2 players for this game as you code it. But what you're going to want to do is make it to make it not have to be controlled by a human. So, but for the web page, you can find a home page and stonks over here. In fact, I'm just going to just simply gonna link it here. And there. Part of the issue of being a faculty member who takes on a lot of responsibilities is that you end up having a lot of responsibilities. Okay, so chat. We don't know. I don't think you need to. I believe the submissions, did I not make submissions? No, I did not. Online, you can put it on, you can do either. I'll finish fleshing that out. Yeah, just Pong. Just the first one is due tomorrow. So if you're doing your and only the one of your respective track is due tomorrow. So if you're doing the games track, Pong is due tomorrow. If you're doing the mobile track, your Pokédex, and otherwise the homepage. And then the other one, if people still need more time if people are still having more time, just let me know. Yeah, the proposal is also due tomorrow, but you'll be able to focus on that during lab. Pong. It explicitly says in the tracks overview that the learning curve for the mobile tracks is a bit higher, so you need plenty of time.
Are we still able to do like a mobile project even
Yes,
if we aren't?
It
Okay.
does. Your track does not. Your track is just simply a helpful starting point.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't mean to sound angry or anything. I'm really not. It's just been one of those semesters where it's just been one of those semesters. I don't think there's actually any other semesters that have been like this. I'm not irritated. I'm just throaty. So, all right, it is 3:22. I have a faculty meeting to get to at 3:30. I will be free after 5 if anybody needs to meet with me. I'll also be on Discord during the meeting because I don't remember how important this meeting is. All right. So
Thanks, Professor.
all right. Stop sharing, stop recording, end meeting. See ya. All right. Have a great day.